I remember it like it was yesterday. I didn't know what my dad did. I just know he left for work every day. When he came home at night, he was covered in salt and scales, fish scales. And I didn't even know what a fish scale was, but they were all over his shirt, his pants, his belt. I remember chewing on his belt when I was a baby because it had salt on it. And it felt good in my mouth when I was teething. I swear, I remember all this like it was yesterday. I know it's hard to think that you remember this stuff when you're a little kid, but I do. 3 years old, sitting on the counter. We're going on the afternoon trip with my dad. And my mom putting my shoes on. I'm sitting on the counter telling me we're going fishing with my dad. He was running the Some Fun off the pier, and the boat was tying up to the pier, and I was sitting on the rail with my mom holding me. And she's saying, "That's your dad." And him coming out on the back of the boat, and him waving at me and saying, "Hi, David." Oh, I had no idea this was going to hit me this hard. But yeah, I'm 60 years old, and I remember it like it was right now. And then we went to go down the ramp and get on the boat. It was incredible, and that was it. I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I wanted to fish.
Well, I'll tell you, if that doesn't get you going there, you probably don't have a heart. Right? Hello?
Give me a moment.
Right. I agree.
Absolutely
Give
got
me
me
a
going back then.
Estoy de acuerdo.
That's yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's where we're going to start the show off every day now with that for a while till it gets old. I don't know if it'll get old. Hey,
No.
Dave, how are you today? Dave Bacon, Dave Burris, Tiffany, welcome.
Hi.
A lot of days around here. And you know, hey, tomorrow is Halloween.
True.
Here we are all dressed up. This is the only day of the year I look normal. Halloween.
Yeah, it is.
We all have our costumes on, right?
I got mine on.
Oh.
Well, Tiffany, you and Dave Burris got some stuff to argue about today, right?
Yeah, we're gonna start boxing on this one.
Oh, good. Well,
No.
your father and I will just kick back and watch, and then we'll talk about it.
Hold on, I'm still trying to get over that video that you just played of you and your dad.
Yeah, that was like a week after he passed away. I was at Michael Folks's house. We were making some videos, and he wanted I was blown away at how that affected me.
Yeah, I can't fathom right now on that. I'm blessed right now, I think.
Yeah, you are.
But yeah, that hit. But okay, let's try to change the feelings around to happy notes now.
All right.
Certainly.
I've had many students when they're first starting ask me, they ask quite a few questions, and I thought I'd share a couple of these questions and give out my answers and things that I thought about and stuff, because I know that some have the same questions on here. Everybody has pretty much the same questions when they first start out or as when they get into it. And one of the things I hear a lot about, or a lot of questions about, are two different things. Mixing the epoxy is a quite frequent question. And then the more controversial one of color preserver, which me and Dave have different views. And I wanted Dave to, tell us his views on it. And I can tell you my views on it, because everybody's different when it comes to color preserver and Flex Coat, Pro Coat, Gen 4, and all the other new ones that are coming out. So I thought it's a good idea to express different views on it so that you can make your own choice on what you'd like to use or what you want to do or not do. On the epoxy part, a lot of times students tell me that they've read somewhere on a forum or they've heard something that you had to mix it slow and gently to avoid whipping the mixture to prevent air bubbles from forming. They'll ask me if it's true or false. And a lot of times what I'll tell them is what they hear on how to apply epoxy is how that person does it. There's, many different ways that people do epoxy. Everyone is different. And over the years, I've learned and seen people do it many different ways. I've seen, there's one person I'll never forget how they mix their epoxy. I've seen them take a minute, literally a minute, to make one complete circle around the cup that epoxy in. This person does 150 stirs around the inside of the cup and then through the middle of it. Do you know how long 150 stirs takes if it takes you 1 minute to do one single rotation?
Long
It
enough.
would be 150 minutes, right? Hey, I won.
Dave got the prize. Good Lord. But that's how this person does it. The end result, when it was all said and done, he did a beautiful job. However, he had to mix batch after batch after batch because the epoxy will only stay like a liquid for so long before it starts getting really tacky. Some people, when it gets tacky, they'll heat it up and put some more on, but then it gets thicker. So, there's pros and cons for every way that you do things, but the end result in this one, it was a beautiful job. It was all good. Now, another way to do it, the first time I saw Doc Ski putting his epoxy on, oh Lord, Lord have mercy on me when I saw that. He had me stunned, just completely in shock. He was sitting there stirring vigorously, faster than you would stir sugar into coffee, and I was always told, do it slow. That's how I saw everybody. Yeah, Dave got on me on that. People would tell me, do it slow, take your time on it, no bubbles or anything. And here's Doc Ski as fast as you possibly can. And I was just like going insane.
I whip it into a froth, man. You look like a little beer sitting there by the time
That's exactly. So it was like I started calling him Speedy Gonzalez. And while he was doing this, I'm looking at him waiting for this epoxy to come flying out of the cup, or the cup go flying somewhere and all this epoxy going all over his carpet, the wall, or something. It never did. And I was shocked on that. And he's just still sitting in his chair, grinning at me, stirring vigorously, asking me if I think he's crazy. And I'm just like, well, you're Doc Ski. You know what you're doing, I think. But, in the back of my mind, I'm going, this guy is crazy. I can just totally see the mix flying somewhere. But I was like, okay, this is Doc Ski. Okay, he knows what he's doing. I trust him. So he keeps on proceeding. Then all of a sudden, as soon as he was done, he looks at me and says, I like it creamy. And I'm looking at the cup going, it's bubbles. There is nothing but massive bubbles all in this cup.
The second you put a torch to it, it disappears.
Right. So I was just sitting there like, okay, I'm going to watch what he does with this, because my whole life was doing it slow. And he puts it all on there, and then he takes a torch and just, and every single bubble was gone, and it was crystal clear. And I was just like, okay, there's no mess. We're good. But see, there's, some way, that way works for many, many people. And some people it doesn't. So you got to basically try different ways until you come up with the way that works for you. Nowadays, I like doing it fast because I'm not spending 9 hours stirring it anymore. and I'll get the same result, you know, just with the torch or bubble popper or whatever you have. Some people use heat guns. You know, I like torches. So it just all depends on what you like to do. Right, Dave?
Oh yeah.
I'm on Dave's side on this one now.
Yeah, you know, that's the best way to do it is just make sure you thoroughly mix the epoxy. Otherwise, you know, if you're mixing it slow, you can't guarantee that you're thoroughly mixing that epoxy.
Right.
And there's nothing worse than not mixed epoxy because it turns out tacky when it never dries. It's a big problem. So it's far better to use a torch situation and actually really mix it good and then hit the bubbles off with the torch when you're done. And then you can go along underneath the rod as it's rotating with a torch and you can just level it with the bubble along the bottom. There'll be a little drip sticking down. You can just take your finger and just run it along there. It perfectly levels the guide. Not a problem. Plus, by thinning it out, by heating it, it also allows it to soak into along the side of the foot, under the guide, everywhere. And that's what you want. You want that thread encapsulated.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Being in charge of safety around here, I'll just add that if you're mixing your stuff in a little paper cup or one of those little plastic cups, think twice about that blowtorch routine.
Safety police, yes, I do nowadays.
Well, what I would say, and I don't know anything, is if Doc Ski's doing it, that's how I'm going to do it. Period. I come from the old school where the guys that have done it before and do it good, those are the guys I follow.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep. But it's just funny how everybody learns differently. And then you go through time and then you learn, oh, there's this way that comes out with the same result, but quicker, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm about doing it as fast as I can. Anything I do, I want to get it done.
Done quick. So
Yeah.
after that day when I saw that many, many years ago, it pretty much changed what I believed in. When I first started, I believed you had to do it slowly. You had to go slow as a turtle, not make any bubbles in it, make it blend to a clear. Go 100 stirs. So I'd go 120, not a minute around like this other person did, but still 120 stirs. Here's a funny story I did with epoxy. Dad will remember this. My mom was super pissed. So I started up, nice and smooth, no bubbles, put it on there, and then I would babysit it. And bubbles would all of a sudden pop up just out of nowhere. And I think I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, and I couldn't understand why the bubbles were coming when I did it exactly how people were telling me to do it slow and you wouldn't have any bubbles. So here I am, and I would sit there and I would really look at it like watching for bubbles to come up. And as it would come up, you would expect it to pop, right? It doesn't pop. It just comes up and sits there. And then another one comes up and sits there. And I'm sitting there just mesmerized. Okay, how do you get rid of bubbles when it comes up? And I remember hearing someone say, fire. Fire will pop the bubbles. So here I'm running around my house trying to figure out how to make fire. I have to make fire so that the bubbles in my rod will pop. I went through the backyard, tried to find anything that my dad used to do or still does today, but barbecue. There's fire in a barbecue. So I opened up the barbecue trying to find something to put in the barbecue. Couldn't find anything to put into the barbecue because, he had everything all cleaned up. So then I'm trying to think, oh, my mom cooks with fire on the stove. So I ran into the kitchen, turned on that stove, and I had holding my rod over the fire of the stove, wanting all the bubble to pop. It popped, Well, then being 7 and 8 years old, not really thinking about what I was doing, I'm holding it over the stove as it's all dripping down. Because when you have fire, heat on epoxy, it's melting. So I'm holding it over her stove with all of this stuff coming off of my rod all over her stove. Not to mention, remember, I was outside working on this. So when I brought it in, it went through the front door, through the living room, dropping epoxy because, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. I had just vigorously put epoxy all over it. I mean, it was thick everywhere. So I'm walking through the dining room, through the living room, through the dining room. It's dripping all over the carpet. Now I'm in the dining room. It's tile. It's dripping on the tile. Now I'm holding it up over the stove with it really dripping because I'm literally holding it in the fire on the stove.
What a mess.
Guess, not just the mess, but guess what happened with the rod and the thread and everything else that was on there?
It cooked.
It cooked. It burns. It's blue. So, I mean, I just had to share that story, and I know my dad's probably sitting there cringing at that, and my mom was pissed, and it was, wait till your father gets home.
I bet they were happy.
But acetone takes that stuff right out of the carpet. I mean, they were sitting there for days, my mom trying to figure out where all this epoxy was at. Little drips here and there, they dry up. How to, you know, getting it out of the carpet before it dries up. So acetone works great on that.
You know, I'm still back out at the barbecue part. I mean, some barbecues come with these rotisserie units. Hey, you got a rod building machine right there. You can cook your dinner while you're at it. You know, I think we're missing out on something important here.
Yeah.
But the one thing, you know, as a kid and, you know, back then is not being able to grasp why the bubbles come up and then trying to figure out how to make things, you know, fix a problem. Same thing nowadays with when you're rod building. There's always a way to fix the problem. Some ways are not that great, like that way. But you always want to keep an open mind to find a new way or find a way to fix a problem to make it better. But just don't use fire and ovens and stuff like that.
But barbecues are okay.
Well, you want the epoxy to saturate into the threads.
Right.
If you put color preserver on there and you try and get the epoxy to saturate into the threads with color preserver on it, it will continually produce bubbles without any hesitation. It's going to happen no matter what, because you cannot fully encapsulate it with color preserver. It won't happen even if you saturate it. By the time it's dry enough to put epoxy on it, there's still the availability for it to make crevices where the epoxy won't flow into it. So you're not saturating the thread, you're creating crevices with that color preserver.
You see, that's the funny thing is because when there's applications where I use color preservers and there's applications where I don't use color preservers. You and I've talked about this. Now, when I'm using color preserver, there's times where you need to use color preserver depending on what you're using. Some people like nylon that doesn't have any type of color preserver, you know, like a nylon thread. Where I've had a student, my students, I actually have them do a test with color preserver so that they can see the difference in it. Mm-hmm. And with one, using the same color thread, and make sure you use the same color thread when you're doing a test. Don't deviate in brands, just use the same color. Pick a brand and use it. And Dave, can you pop this on real quick?
The video?
One of my students did this, is one of the tests that I have them do, and you'll
see
the difference between the two color preservers.
Okay, Tiffany, here's a test for you. two
And you got an
identical
A on it.
rods. You can show this in class.
Yep.
One with color preserver, one without on the blue only. These are acid wraps. So one goes one way, the other goes the other.
So before I continue on with this part, I have to do a shout out because there's a couple of kids that are watching this. This is their grandpa's rod. So I gotta say hello to McKinley, Mila, and Liam. You guys are famous now, and so is your grandpa. So hello, guys. They're little kids. They're so adorable.
Right.
So there was a
Which
difference in the color.
which rod had the preservative on it?
The one on the left that was the brighter color, that has color preserver on it. The one on the right does not. Now, I've also seen different brands do to where the color literally disappears. There is no color.
Yep.
At all whatsoever. So in a case like that, and there's people that are diehards on one brand or one type of thread, which is fine. That's on them. If that's what they like to use, let's say it's kind of like Levi's and Jordache jeans. If you want to go back in the day, some people would prefer the Levi jeans. Some people would prefer the Jordache.
The
Not
problem
trying to date myself, but
the problem with that is thread companies come and go.
yeah.
There's a fire, and then all of a sudden that thread is not available anymore. That's where it becomes a big problem. Like Goobrod, they are no longer making thread. They burned down. Holland was really good thread, and they had a fire, and they never reopened. So you lose brands of thread that you come to trust and appreciate, and then all of a sudden you're thrust into other threads that you have to redo all your testing with and purchase it to try and figure it out. It's as a rod builder, you're continually experimenting with new products.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The thing that I wanted to talk about is the bonding with thread preserver or color preserver on there. When you do that and you coat a rod with epoxy, and it has color preserver on it, it comes apart real easily. Okay, all you have to do is heat up the outer layer, and it basically peels right off. It also promotes cracking of the feet, the guide feet in your wraps, to have color preserver on it. Okay. Now, if you have a bonded one where you've just no color preserver and straight epoxy, warmed it up good, and you saturated all the threads, how easy do you think it would be to replace that guide?
Pretty simple.
No, it's very difficult. It is monumentally difficult to unbond epoxy glued to epoxy. Okay, but if you put color preserver in there, then it'll unbond easily. But however, it'll also crack easily. All right. And with that, you get saltwater intrusion at the guide feet, you get rust, etc. Those are the problems that I see with color preserver. I personally, on all my rods and the rods that I build, don't use color preserver unless I absolutely have to. That would be the case of white or neon colors. They all also require color preserver to stay neon. Otherwise, you get a half clear nylon looking thing. But that's where I stand on it.
See, and that's where I'm different because we're in where you had problems with cracking on the feet because of the color preserver, I haven't had problems like that. I have rods that I've had for umpteen years that have the color preserver on it, and the flex coat and everything, there's no cracking. So maybe it's the brand. I don't know. Maybe somehow, but I've never had that problem. I don't have cracking feet except for my own feet. So
Right.
so everybody's different when it comes to that.
Right. Mike Lewis asked a question here. I want you guys to take a look at the question and think about it for a minute. And we're going to play this
Okay.
little video here in a second. Let me see if we got it right here.
Hey guys, Don Stanley here.
All right, guys, check it out. I got something to show you. These are our new fillet boards, offshoreproducts.net. You can get them there. And let me show you what we got.
First, this is our 24-inch board. As with all our boards, there is a drain slot to divert the blood off the back. There are tool holders cut into the base and a scale to measure your catch. Your board can be customized with your logo or boat name. We are also producing these cool cup and phone holders. They snap onto 1-inch or 7/8 rail, won't slip or move, and won't mar your bright work. All our products are made with King Color Core and 316 stainless hardware. Here is what people are saying about our products.
All right, gang.
This
We
thing
constantly
is
are talking
frickin'
about
sick.
offshore products on our podcast and on our live fishing shows. I just want to show you something that's absolutely unbelievable. On the 61 Viking, Don Stanley, the owner of Offshore Products, was able to put together this beautiful tabletop for the bait tank, which actually flips over and becomes a fillet table. So look at that. So you can fillet your fish on the bottom of this, then put it back down on the top, and then it has the boat's name right there. Absolutely incredible. The best part about this, made in the US of A. You guys can have any size board made exactly to fit wherever you want to fit it, on the back of your boat, on the side of your boat, on the top of your bait tank. It'll cover anything you could possibly imagine, and we all need a fillet board now that we're all part of Your Saltwater Guide, because that means you're actually going to catch stuff when you go fishing, which is kind of cool. So check out offshoreproducts.com for all your fish cutting needs. Pretty cool stuff there. Check it out. I'll leave the QR code up for a couple seconds. Somebody download it. Grab that QR code. But what do you guys, Dave Burris and Tiffany, what do you guys think of what Mike Lewis asks? Did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it, dude.
I'm trying to open up my chat.
Well, let me tell you, every rod ever
Yeah,
has always smooth epoxy. Have you ever tried to purposely put a fish eye in the epoxy so it has a dimple effect? Hello?
Purposely? No.
Okay.
No, I never have. Generally, what that fish eye in the epoxy comes from is getting too close to WD-40. That will do it to you. Anything in the room where you finish your rod, WD-40 doesn't get used. Not even the door lock assembly coming into the room. No. You don't spray that stuff around, because all it takes is a fine mist to land on a rod thread before it's coated, and oh boy, you'll have fish eyes everywhere.
Agree.
Okay. And
Lisa.
then what's your favorite thread?
Mine,
Anybody's.
Holland and Holland thread, but they no longer make it. They're long gone.
Okay, well, let's talk about something that exists then.
I don't
Why,
have.
why would you talk about something that doesn't exist? My favorite is something that doesn't exist.
My second favorite's goob rod, and they don't exist either. But I've got enough of it, I could wrap rods for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I grew up starting on Pro Wrap, and then I was introduced to Out. Then I was introduced for Fuji. So for me, it's not so much of the feel of it. It's more like when a customer wants a certain shade, then that's what I'll get that shade. But as far as favorites, I really don't have one right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like Lisa's question too. What about pre-coated thread that has the color preserver already on it?
Oh yeah, Lisa, like when we do like the guides with the, for instance, color fast for one example, you know, you don't have to put the color, you don't need to put color preserver on it because it's already got the preserving of how it was made, so you can go straight on it with that. What I was referring to is threads that disappear on you or don't have anything to keep the color alive, then that's when you'd need to go and do it. But when you're doing your guides, you don't need, and you're doing stuff that already has it, you know, in play, then you don't need to. Do you agree with that, Dave?
Yeah, NCP thread works great. And that's what it's called. It's NCP. No color preserver needed. And it's that's all I pretty much use. I mean, I do have a whole bunch of other stuff that is non NCP thread, but for the most part, when I'm building rods, NCP is it.
Yeah. But then you've got people that they like just the feel and how, like, for instance, you've got a lot of people that are full blown into Alps. You've got people that think Fuji's the only way to go. So, you know, there's so many different types of thread that you can't force everybody to use one type of thread. And like I tell my students, you got to figure out what you like works best. Right. If it's Fuji, if it's Pro Wrap, if it's there's a new one that's coming out. I can't think of the name of the brand off the top of my head.
Well, there's also Pure Silk.
Yeah, Pure Silk. Then there's the thread that you can get at the at any fabric store. You got to use colored on it.
Pure Silk would be like for a fly rod, and that is the perfectionists use Pure Silk on bamboo fly rods. And what it does is it'll actually turn transparent with a slight tint. You know, they'll put the color in the silk, and then when you put a coating over it, it turns transparent with a slight cast of that color. That's it. That's another one that's, you know, if you find silk thread, that thread will last forever. You can find it on the used market if you look closely. You can find some of it, and some of the companies out of Japan are actually making it. So you can get a hold of that if you have to. Yeah, you never, you know, and like what I've learned is you never want to center yourself on one thread brand. Hey, there's just way too many of them out there. Try everything. You know, you have to test it. You have to see how it's going to hold up to the epoxy, up to the color preserver, what kind of color preserver to use with a given thread. It makes a difference, you know, to do that little bit of testing.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely imperative that people test stuff out to figure out what they like the best. You like one thing, I like another, Lisa likes another, Mike will like another. You know, everybody likes their own thing, so they need to figure out what works best for them.
You know, Mike Lewis makes an interesting point, you know, and I've been reading his lengthy message and thinking about it. His question is, can you use white thread and then paint it? And I'm thinking use white thread, and what you've created is kind of a canvas. And then your painting can be as creative as you want the painting to be. I'm thinking almost turning it into something like a tiger wrap or something like that. But really, it can be the canvas for artistic expression.
Yeah, the same thing with marbling. You know, I've marbled on white thread, blue thread, black thread. I mean, marbling is just a sort of pigment that you put into the epoxy, so it comes up with different colors, kind of like a paint. You can do that too. You can use, I've seen people use spray paint on white thread, gray thread. You know, I've seen people use acrylic type, you know, normal craft type paint and create, you know, stuff on a white background, whether it was a painted blank or if it was right thread. I've seen it done multiple different ways, and it comes out all good. You got to use your imagination.
And Lisa asked about Kevlar thread, and I'm wondering if the material Kevlar is sufficiently absorbent enough to take what you need to add to it, whether it be color preserver or epoxy. Anybody ever use Kevlar?
Okay, me and Dave are now stumped.
Lisa, good job. You stumped it. There's a big point for that, you know.
She gets 5 points for class, extra credit.
Anybody ever use what? Let's try that again.
Kevlar.
Kevlar.
Kevlar thread.
It's like a braided line, that
I've
material.
actually got some out there, but I've never tried it.
Go get it. No.
Yeah, right. Go through my thread library. I'll catch you next Thursday.
Okay, Lisa just gave me homework.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You should tell me you wanted to see it.
Lisa,
Yeah, I've used it in fly tying before. It works really good to pull like elk hair caddis down. But other than that, no, I've never, because you can actually pull on it, you know. But I don't think that you really need that much pressure on your thread to hold a guide on. You know, if anything, you'd probably crush the blank. And, you know, depending upon the blank, you know, if you're talking about a freshwater blank or fly rod blank, you'd crush it with Kevlar, no problem. Just smash it flat. You know, a good heavy, thick saltwater guy blank you probably wouldn't crush, but I don't know. You can really crank that down. You get 10 pounds of pressure on it, and you multiply that by how many wraps of thread. Yeah, you're getting up there. You can actually crush a blank.
Lisa asked, Fish and Matt Ryan, can you just go buy threads from Joann's or Michael's? Yeah, but I can't give you the discounts on the other threads that are, made for rod wrapping. So you won't get those discounts, but you can go buy more expensive threads for sewing from Joann's or Michael's, but some of them you really need to do a tester on them because they will fade. I've tried lots of different threads from fabric stores, from craft stores, and there is a difference in sizes. They don't go by like the same type of size that we do, I've noticed, for rod building. There's a different texture in it, and it's really made when you pull on the attention of it, they will snap easier just because they're made differently. So there's things that you got to watch out for.
What is it? Mudra embroidery thread. It has all the different colors.
I'm not seeing that.
I think that one there, Doc Ski used it a lot because it had so many different colors. And it had a problem with putting color preserver on it, like in his weaves. He had a slight issue with that because it has silicone. They use silicone when they're weaving that thread, and it has an issue. I know that, but that one comes in a lot of different colors. I mean, a whole lot of different colors. So that one's a real good thread. It's not a fishing rod thread.
How does the color stay on it?
A lot of the weavers do that. The Doc figured out a way to do it. You'd have to ask him. I think it was thinning it down with water, a whole bunch, and a little bit of alcohol.
Another way he does it is he'll put, and he was very specific with me on this, 2 to 3 drops of acetone.
Yeah, or that goes in the epoxy.
Yeah.
Yeah, not in the color preserver. That goes in the epoxy.
Right.
But I've seen where he's put a couple drops of alcohol, rubbing alcohol in his color preserver before, and that kind of takes care of a little bit of the silica that might be on the thread from manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him do that. Or I've seen him also spray a coating of alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and then let it dry.
Mm-hmm.
Fully let it all drip off, then dry, and it kind of removes some of it too. So I've seen him do it both ways before. You got to experiment. You got to get creative and experiment. Don't set your house on fire.
I was a interesting child growing up.
Or don't set Dave's house on fire. How's that?
You know, I sure remember all those mysterious little hard spots on my workbench out in the garage. Finally figured out where those came from. And when you're using that particle board surface, you know, the acetone trick doesn't work quite the same, you know,
Right.
kind of affecting your workbench there. So, yeah,
My
being
parents built that spot.
being Tiffany's dad has had its interesting spots, you know.
Yeah.
But she's creative. It's all good.
My dad, when I was a kid, built me a spot in the garage. And he said, "This is where it all happens. It does not happen in the house."
Well, that's why my mom had me outside first. But then I had to figure out how this bubble thing was happening and get rid of it.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to talk about an educational issue.
Okay.
Just because I've been noticing a trend, and with the experience of being a long-time tackle store owner myself, I understand the trend and I understand why and the value of the solution. The trend being in Tiffany's 15-week online interactive rod building courses, where she takes people from beginner to advanced and also includes some education on how to get started in business for themselves. We're finding more tackle shop owners signing up. Now, they're not necessarily coming themselves. They're sending someone there. And the light bulb went off. And I said, "Guy, you know, from my experience, that's a great solution." Because I can tell you, one of the trouble tackle store owners have is finding a good and reliable rod repairer and rod builder who, I mean, you want them to go fishing. You just don't want them to go fishing when you need them real bad. And of course, they go fishing anyway, or disappear, or get involved with life some other way. So for a tackle store owner who always wants to be right there for our customers, having a good, reliable, dependable, high quality work type rod repairer / builder around is super, super important. You know, we don't have time to do it ourselves. Yeah, you know, Tiffany's students include a husband and wife combo, wonderful people from back east, and the wife is going to do much of that. They have both a charter boat and a tackle store. But we're getting more tackle store owners signing up, and I see the logic. So I'm going to make this statement to all the tackle shop owners across the land. Pick the person that you can rely on, even if they don't know how to build rods. Sign them up for Tiffany's class. At the end of the 15 weeks, you will have a skilled rod repairer / builder who you can count on. Or maybe take it yourself and then teach people, but you probably don't have time for that. So that is just a real good solution. And then beyond that, if you're an individual taking the class and thinking about, yeah, how far do I want to get into this? Because it can be a fascinating and wonderful side hustle or main gig. Go talk to every tackle store within striking distance of you about doing some work for them. When you go talk to them, take some of your rods with you. They will want to see your work. and they will want to hear about how reliable you are going to be for them, because that is what is of tantamount importance to the tackle store owner and or manager. So take your work, show them, convince them that, yes, I use the word within striking distance on purpose, because if they do utilize your services, you will be making that run between home and the tackle store quite frequently to pick up and drop off rods. And so, use the ones that you can really, like, within an hour's drive, say, or less, depending on what you drive and how you feel about driving. But you can be there. This can be a source of income for somebody wanting to get into this. And even if you go to a tackle store and they go, hey, we got Joe here. He's really good at this stuff, and he's handling all our work for us. Go back and check with them in a few months, and a few months after that, because I know Joe, and things happen to Joe. Joe goes places. Things happen in Joe's life. So check back with them periodically. But back to the original thought. If you or someone has a tackle store, picking the right person and then training them in one of Tiffany's classes is just like the ideal way to go for a tackle store owner.
One thing though is they got to practice the lessons. Don't take the class and then sit on it for a year or two. Practice everything you learn. Practice over and over and over again. That's what makes you better. If you take the class and 2 years later try to do what you learned in class, you're only going to remember 1%. Practice.
Yep, your rod wrapping fingers need muscle memory.
Yep,
they do.
Yeah, if you're not doing at least 2, 3, 4, 5 rods a week, you're not doing anything.
Right. People can also go talk to local fishing landings, because sometimes they got rental rods and whatnot, and sometimes, usually one of the deckhands can take care of the simple stuff for them, but they may have some needs. Captain Dave Hansen, you come from a family that does all of the above, fishing boats, bike tackle in the landing, all of that stuff. How do you feel about how easy it is to keep quality people around who can do that work for you?
It's almost impossible, especially nowadays, Dave.
Worse.
When the great governor of the state of California raised the minimum wage to $20 an hour, it became almost impossible to keep crew members, and because of the fact that they can go to McDonald's and make way more than they can make working on the boat. And I don't judge them for that. It's just we can't keep up with the price of quality help at the minimum wage that they've set. It's when you think about that, you got to think, okay, deckhand, 10 o'clock half day boat. Okay. For 5 hours, the boat's out. We ain't working for 5 hours, bro. You got to get them there an hour and a half early. We got stuff to do to get ready for the boat to go out. Then we don't know how long it's going to take you to clean the boat at the end of the day.
Or something happens with the engines or the bill punch, and you have to go.
We don't even talk about that, but just to think. So it's just so hard to do business in the state of California anymore. It's almost impossible. He's done a great job of destroying but he's gonna. Hey, how cool is that? He's gonna be the president of the United States of America. So you got that to look forward to, folks. How cool is that? I got to show you something, Dave. You're gonna get a kick out of this. This guy, you may have heard of him before. He was talking about this a long time ago when he was the governor of the state of California. Listen to this.
Nature has left us gifts on which no monetary value can be placed. Our lakes, our rivers and forests, the mountains and the beaches, all are ours to enjoy in what must be a balanced program of use, development, and conservation. This is your state, and this is your state government. It's only right and proper that you know what we're doing to make and to keep California the kind of state each of us wants, for ourselves and for our children.
Now, gang, this election coming up is so important because this Prop 50 is just a way for them to steal votes again. That's all it is. It's just a way to steal votes and to elect them. But I don't care about anything else except fishing. And the people that are in charge want to close down fishing in a way that you can't even comprehend. So if you vote yes on 50, you voted for closure of fishing, period. That's what you voted for. You voted for the closure of fishing. I don't want to talk about politics. That's the last thing I want to talk about.
Other things.
But if we don't talk about this, they're steamrolling us. Like we said yesterday, it's a freight train coming down the tracks. And we're going to get run over. And you got to stand up for your rights, gang. And the right to fish in the state of California has been around for a long time, but we're running out of areas to fish, and we don't need another closure. We do not need another closure, but we're going to get some. We're going to get some. So you better best pay attention.
You know, the Prop 50 thing, in the state of California, the percentage between Republicans and Democrats and the percentage of House seats and which side of the aisle they're on shows that Republicans in California are seriously underrepresented.
Oh, yeah.
And so this Prop 50 will just take it further in a one-sided direction. I kind of like a balance where one party wins some things, another party wins other things, keep each other in check, nobody gets too wild, and our rights are preserved. And Captain Dave Hansen is absolutely right. The assaults on our rights are heading our way under full locomotive steam power.
And like I said, I do not want to be the guy that's constantly talking politics. But you know what? I'm living right now in a time where fishing is so revolving around politics that we have to. And I believe me, it cost me a phenomenal amount of viewers and a phenomenal amount of money, really. But I got to talk about it because, man, I do not want to be here in 10 years and tell my grandkids, back in the old days, we used to go fishing. It was kind of cool. We went fishing for our food and we caught fish and we took them home and we ate them. You're 10 years away from not being able to fish in California. That's where you are.
And we went hunting and we went four-wheeling and we did all kinds of other things that we're not going to be allowed to do, including run our boat on the ocean.
Yeah.
They're going to take it all away.
I just got to talk about it every damn day because it's super important, gang. And I don't really care where you're at as far as political goes, but if you're voting for this Prop 50, then you're voting for closing fishing, period. End of story. That doesn't even matter. The other crap that's going to happen from it doesn't matter. If we can't fish, I don't really care.
I got a story I got to share.
Thank you.
So I write this article some years back. It's called A Tale of Two Plates. And in the article, I say, okay, plate one. Someone goes out in the field, hunts careful, takes good aim, drops a deer, one shot. Cut a steak off, cook it up, put it on that plate. Plate two. A steak comes from a cow that lived its life in captivity, lived its life in pens that are in an area that's it's dirty. They're fed slightly more chemicals probably than the law will allow, and then they meet and end in the butcher shop cut a steak off, put it on plate 2. Now, which of those 2 plates do you really want to eat? The one that came from nature and lived a natural good life, or the one that was clearly the opposite? And I published that article, and one of the responses was something that absolutely floored me. The response was, why can't everybody just go buy their meat in a market where no animals are harmed?
Yeah.
And I said, I cannot fix this. I cannot educate this person. This is an unfixable, or a response from an unfixable, uneducatable person.
Yep.
That just was one of my greatest floored moments of my life.
Yep. And the unfortunate thing, David, is there's a ton of people walking around right now with that attitude. They just don't understand how the world works, and they just don't understand, and they're not going to get it.
No.
They voted for no voter ID. What? We have to have an ID to do everything but vote. Every single thing you have to have an ID for. Everything, but you don't have to have an ID to vote because it's what? What is it? No, it's ridiculous is what it is.
It's scary.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Gang, we're going to finish off the show telling you about Tiffany's store, all the great things that she can do for you to get your rods, get your blanks, get your threads, get your epoxies, get every single thing that you can get through Tiffany's store. Tiffany, go ahead.
It's at vaguerods.net, and everything on the site is up to 40% off on your blanks, your components, your threads, your epoxies. Dave's hatefulness towards color preserver, but we'll get over that. Pretty much anything that has to do with rod buildings on that website. You can also sign up for the class, and when you sign up for the class, the 15-week course comes with the free rain shadow blank. So hop on to vaguerods.net, where all the stuff's up to 40% off.
And you notice she said vaguerods.net. And we chose .net because we use nets in fishing.
Yeah.
Made sense to us, But on the website, vaguerods.net, you can find everything you want to buy at major discounts. I doubt if, on a day-to-day basis, I doubt if you're going to find better prices on rod building equipment anywhere. And also on there, people can sign up for the 15-week online interactive classes that they can take from anywhere in the comfort of their home or from the boat or whatever. And we've got interesting things on there like we've got a video of Doc Ski handing Tiffany the teacher's torch as the next generation, passing it over to Tiffany. She is now the educator, and that's where people can sign up to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and the one thing that just blows my mind every time you say it, Tiffany, you sign up for this class and you get a free rod blank? Come on. My God, that's worth it right there.
Not expensive either.
I'm going to get the rod blank. I'm going to give it to Dave Burris to make me a rod.
The interesting thing on the blank, though, is a lot of people think that everyone's getting the same blank. They're not. In the second day of class, we go through over 70 blanks that they can choose from, show them, what the materials are of that blank, what fish it's good for, the weight class, yada, yada, yada. And there's like over 70 blanks that they choose from freshwater to saltwater to fly rods, because I've learned from hearing things from other people, on like the 1 and 2 day classes, that it's the same blank, but everybody doesn't fish the same. Not everybody's a freshwater fisherman. Not everybody's a saltwater fisherman. Not everybody's a fly rod fisherman. So I try to make it to where there's a choice, and not just, okay, choose 1, 2, or 3, different class weights, different things, because when you get into the freshwater and saltwater, some people, like for instance, in the freshwater, some people are surf fishing, some people are deep sea fishing, rockfish, lingcod, tuna, halibut, all sorts of different types of blanks. Same thing with the freshwater. You've got trout, you've got largemouth bass, but then if you go east coast, you've got these giant catfish that are the same size as me. So there's a variety of different weight classes, different actions, different powers, and you got to choose one out of those 70. That's a hard choice.
Tiffany, answer Brett Enter's question. It's an important one for you.
How do you spell the site? V as in Victor, A, G as in golf, U, E, R, O, D as in Delta, S as in Sierra, .net.
Vague like a vague idea, vaguerods.net.
Yeah, vague like a vague idea, rods, your fishing rods.net, because yes, scoop it up with the net. So vaguerods.net.
Yeah, and you won't be disappointed when you go over there, Brett. Just check it all out, and you're gonna be blown away that she's given all this product with such a huge discount. It blows my mind every time I go over there and think about it. And gang, I'm gonna be with a gentleman that has a very, very cool setup at Cedros Island tomorrow. Jeff Mariucci has a great setup, a bitchin' house on the island of Cedros. He's going to be talking about how a little more intimate, just a little different than everybody else. There's so many different companies now doing trips out of Cedros, but if you go with Jeff, it's going to be just the 6 of you. It's going to be very intimate. And I'm telling you, you're going to want to hear what he's got to say about what's going on at Cedros Island right now. So check out Jeff tomorrow. We're going to be live with him at 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, gang. And thank you all very, very much for being with us today. Thanks, Dave, Tiffany, and Dave for a great show. I want to show you this. Going out of this, we're going to end the show with this commercial I just made. Okay, gang, are you wondering how do we find all these fish all the time? Where do we find all these fish?
Air Pelletier.
Well, with your saltwater guide, you never have to wonder again. You can be one of the people that are finding all these fish. You can be one of the people that are constantly catching fish, finding the hot spots, always being successful, or at least knowing why you're not. At your saltwater guide, I'll tell you what, we have over 3,300 of the greatest fishing spots in Southern California. We have 500 plus how-to videos. We have game plans that come out every Thursday that cover the area that you're going to be fishing in when you go out fishing. At your saltwater guide, there is so much. The community is second to none with no negativity. You can be one of these happy people in these pictures catching fish every single time you go out, or at least knowing why you didn't catch fish today. And then as the sun starts to set, it's time to catch lobsters. And if you've ever wondered, where are all the lobsters at? You will know with over 3,300 spots how to catch them, where to catch them, and when to catch them. Lobsters, white sea bass, yellowtail, barracuda, whatever you're looking for, we can get you on those fish. Just simply download the QR code, and for $9.99 a month, you can be in